And this is all about Nairobi County. We can see we've been trying to resuscitate or jumpstart that particular car. That's how it looks, and the car is it's rollover now. The wheels are up. Maybe we can let our panelists just chime in on this as well. Dr. Eseli, what do you think about the impeachment motion now that maybe will come to the Senate if all goes well?
Impeachment of Sonko.
You have the retro cartoon there. If you just have it back, please.
You would say that Sonko is a cat with many lives. Sonko is a cat with many lives, and until you can't say it's over until it's over. So we need to see how the assembly proceeds. If the assembly succeeds the impeachment, perhaps is when you can say that it's moving. Otherwise, before the assembly passes that motion, Sonko always has a trick up his sleeve. You know, he's a streetwise operative with very populist kind of moves. So this particular time, I would hold my horses and wait for the assembly to impeach him first.
For the assembly to impeach him first?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Otiende.
I think that's an interesting but difficult to understand cartoon.
Yes.
Because first of all, the car is upside down, and the driver does not seem to be suffering an accident. Seems comfortable as if the car is moving.
Also note there is the L sign
and
there.
Then there's the L sign. And that L sign, if you look at the car keenly, it seems like it's the battery is connected not really to the engine. The engine would probably be the other way around. But I don't know whether this is also symptomatic of some of the accidents we've been seeing lately. Lately we've been seeing vehicles flying off the road and hitting trees. I don't know what's happening to Nairobi. But having said that,
I think they'll be stretching it a bit.
The issue in Nairobi, and I think today the MCAs are, I think, bound to take a vote on this matter or something. And I would imagine that because of its nature, if it's to succeed, some of our colleagues here, like the senators, might not want to comment on it because it might come to them. But I think it's symptomatic of a very fundamental issue, and we've discussed this here before. When the court said, and there's merit in that, you know, when a governor is charged in circumstances such as that, then he would be barred from office. Then it behoves the court to go further, you know, and say, really, then what should happen? Because you are now in fact, Nairobi is in a constitutional cul-de-sac, because there's no deputy. The speaker cannot assume the role of governor because there's no vacancy. They have sought an opinion from the Supreme Court, which I don't want to preempt it, but again, the way you seek advisory opinions, that might have some challenges. But so there's there's a vacuum, a constitutional vacuum that ought not to be created. You see, in law, there's something called an interregnum. We are taught in first year law school that you can never have a period where there's no holder of executive authority in a country. And in many ways, that reflects at the county level, because we mirrored what's at the county level, at the national level. You cannot have a situation where you don't know who's the president of a country or who's acting. And that ought to be the position also at the county level. So I will just hope that you know, the situation in Nairobi helps us to devise something, whether it's at the Senate, especially, particularly at the Senate, or in the course of the BBI discussion, so that we don't have a situation like that.
Aaron Chirot.
I agree with Otiende. This is a very difficult situation because we have about, I think, two now. There were three, but they figured out a way of sorting out the Kiambu issue through other means. But Kiambu was part of the counties that were in this kind of situation, where the governor has been urged not to just set foot in his office, primarily because of the argument of interference of evidence. But still, again, it goes on ahead because it just ends at that, not defining what roles can a governor who has been charged play and which ones can he not. And it has been left to the imagination and perhaps the talents of each of the church governor to try and figure his way out. For example, I've seen for Nairobi that many other times, if you go to Governor Mike Sonko's official pages, you'll find that he nowadays operates from some office in, I think, Upper Hill. I don't know where the Samburu one operates from. And it's really a worrying trend. And I think these are part of the questions that we ought to ask ourselves. What happens in such a situation where Supreme Court is supposed to issue an advisory in the interest of the citizens?
Yes.
There have been attempts by civil society and even by, I think that when there was challenge on that Justice Mumbi Ngugi ruling, it went to the Court of Appeal, then I think now it's at the Supreme Court. There's an increasing trend where Supreme Court, I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's too much interference with their work. I don't seem to understand why many issues that will be of interest that I have got a time lapse to the country are not considered in the right time. For example, I'll give you another example, Debal. Last year, when we had this debacle between the Senate and the National Assembly on whether National Assembly could go on and do a County Allocation of Revenue Act without first agreeing on the division of revenue. This is the act of parliament that divides revenue between national and counties. You know, in this current budget cycle, there was never agreement on the same. But National Assembly nonetheless went ahead and implemented ACARA. It was signed into law, and they proceeded actually without the input of the Senate. As Senate, we went to the Supreme Court. Up to now, Justice Maraga has never constituted a bench to listen to that case alongside others. Therefore, it calls to question the operations of our Supreme Court and whether we need to reevaluate the entire architecture of how our judiciary is, because if they do not have the spine to handle the very complicated cases such as this one, then why do we have them in the first place? Nairobi is a very critical economy to the entire economy of the city, and therefore for things to be as they are, it's really worrying. As a resident of this county, I'd wish to see a more speedy resolution of this issue so that citizens can get to enjoy services.
Thank you.
Many, by the way, Debal, you know, the unfortunate thing is that many of the elites, so to speak, in the city may only look at this in terms of, oh, the roads have not been swept, or the street lights are not working, or there's poor road network in our city. But the people who are facing the most pain are the citizens who live in informal settings. Garbage is not being collected, medicine in hospital, water is not being provided, very critical services to them. And therefore, this is an issue that warrants even the attention of the president.
Right. Kimani Motangi?
Yes, Debal. Now, looking back at what has been happening in Nairobi, and probably you can start from the time of when Elachi, because there's no impeachment motion for a speaker, but when she was ejected from office, and the length of time and the drama that was there, and of course a lot of power play in between. Then until she found herself in, and then from that the next was the majority leader. There was a lot of drama in the county assembly again, and the majority leader was thrown out. And then from there again, Sonko with the impeachment motions. And what I'm alluding to is one of the questions that would be high on our minds is this about cleaning up Nairobi? Is it about political interests? Is it cartels that are fighting this battle in between? Because I mean, you know, if it was if it had taken the trajectory of dealing with, for example, if it was a governor and you say this guy is doing this and that, and then deal with him, or if it was the speaker. But you see, consistently it has been battle royale in the county government of Nairobi from the county assembly beginning at that time with Elachi, and that would suggest, in my view, that there is also a lot of political power play in the backstage, and probably the best way to settle this, in my view, would be through a resolution, as my colleagues have said, of the court. But remember also, and maybe these are some of the questions one would want to be asking, the appellate court in handling an appeal that was lodged by the governor for Kiambu,
Yes.
made some very interesting observations when they were returning the verdict. They said about Waititu then that he is still the governor of the county, that those bail terms did not amount to removing him from office, that indeed he still earns full salary. He's not on half salary as would be envisaged by ASECA. And so what is the weight and direction of these terms once they're imposed? I think the only institution that can help us to resolve these standoffs in the county governments is the judiciary, by being very clear when they impose those terms at the time of bail. And they'll be saying that these are the limitations, and these are the extent, and this is the interpretation in clarity. Once we have issued an order saying a governor cannot access office, you know, when it is left in that amorphous state, then that's why you see all these games being played here and there and there. And at the end of the day, as you know, and I've seen this, and I'm sure Dibal, my colleagues have seen it, when you have a situation like this, it becomes ripe ground, one for corruption. You cannot even now tell, for example, what is happening in that county assembly in Nairobi. Most members of the county assembly find this as a beautiful and good opportunity to go and get money and get paid, so that they will be saying, you know, tomorrow is the day when you could be out of office. So can you oil us, and oil us nicely, you know? And you know, if you're a governor and you have a bit of money, then you know, there you are. You pay off this one, then you have another faction there. So if the judiciary can settle this, and I hope Justice Maraga takes keen interest on this, and he can be able to show direction as the president of the Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Such that they would direct, let us issue, either give an opinion or directions through the judiciary, such that this is clarified once and for all.
Right, thank you. Boni Khalwale, your comments?
Yes, that picture, as they say, indeed speaks of 1,000 words. What you are seeing in those impeachments is just a confirmation of what many have feared, that the fight against corruption has been completely weaponized. And the weapons they're using are two. One, that impeachment threat to governors, and two, the association with BBI. If you are not politically correct in terms of association to BBI is concerned, then you face the threat of it being investigated and eventually being thrown out of office as governor. And that's why the majority of the governors, who, by the way, are our good old friends and good old colleagues, we talk behind the scenes and they say we have no choice. The second point that you see from there in that cartoon, it reminds us of the ruling by the courts of barring governors from going to office. It means two different things. It either means that they are being barred from setting foot in office, or they are being barred from discharging their duties as governors. The way Sonko has treated it is that he has taken it to mean he's been barred from setting his foot in office. And that's why he has been able to reshuffle his cabinet and that kind of thing from a different premises. And because that reshuffle has been accepted, to me, it confirms that the so-called being barred from office as a consequence of that ruling simply means being denied an opportunity to set your foot into the office. Now, if that is the case, because the courts have allowed that cabinet reshuffle, then I don't even see why people are going for interpretation from the Supreme Court, because it is therefore clear that when you have been barred from setting your foot in the office,
Yes.
you have not been barred from discharging as a governor, and therefore you're still the governor. So if you're still the governor, nobody, and my brother Otiende, this is where I want to agree with you in reverse. Nobody should doubt the fact that Sonko is still the governor of Nairobi. because he's reshuffling cabinet, and therefore what they were stopping him was merely setting his foot in office. If that is the case, then nobody should contemplate the situation of having the deputy governor of Nairobi, even if he was there, to act, because the governor is still discharging. Finally, but not least, this issue that remains unclear has got far-reaching consequences. As you saw, a whole governor who is still in office was, through choreography, removed from office in Kiambu. I have never missed a single day in Parliament because nobody threw me out. I voluntarily chose not to be in Parliament. And when I saw the nonsense that was going on in the Senate on the day...
You call it nonsense.
You can correct it. on the day that Governor Waititu was being impeached, I said, my. You know what? I took the trouble to call the Speaker of the Senate in December, after the legal timeline was overtaken by a delay in bringing the motion in Parliament. And I told him, now that this legal timeline has been surpassed, you are found between a rock and a hard place. Well, I will not tell you what he told me, but I'll give you three quick points why I think what was in the Senate was choreography. One, the MCS in Kiambu, Senator, and you know it.
Yes,
yes. Who passed the impeachment resolution did not meet the prerequisite numbers. Two, the legal timelines, you'll take it, why don't you relax? I know you wanted the Waititu out. The legal timelines that were required by way of the time it takes for a motion to arrive in the Senate and for the Senate to transact business on it were bypassed by far. And then finally, there is, and I'm glad that my brother Otiende is here, there is a serious rule in Parliament called sub judice.
Sub judice?
Yeah. The sub judice rule was very clear in Waititu's case that because this matter, the same matter that they were using, the issue of corruption to remove him, was already before another court, the anti-corruption court. It was sub judice of Parliament to take action on it.
All right.
So maybe just to clarify to Senator Boni Khalwale. One, you create the impression as though the senator for Kiambu was having special interest in the removal of the governor. That is not true, Dibal, for the record. And indeed, if you followed the proceedings, I was very reserved. Senator Aaron Cheruiyot can confirm to you. I reserved all my comments first, even on the floor of the House, until last, when every member had already proceeded and said what they wanted to say objectively after looking at the evidence. The only point I wanted to clarify to Boni is the matters that you've raised about either the threshold of members of the county assembly and so on. Those are matters that are alive in court now, because the governor went to court and he filed that matter. And I was just, cautioning you that those are not issues that I also want to engage you in. Those grounds were raised in the Senate. He went to court. The matter is alive in court. Courts will decide what they find. But the Senate did its work based on the evidence that was brought and adduced to the Senate at that time. And so, as a senator, I don't think that I would take it kindly when Boni reduces the discussion to a word called nonsense. It was not nonsense.
And choreography.
Proceedings in the Senate.